Alright everybody, we're gonna try to steal this vehicle. We have frame generation active through AMD's preview driver. Normally we'd be getting 44 frames per second right now. 39, 43. But instead we're getting 76, 72, 64, 61. As this is not currently implemented in the game, it is through fluid motion frames on AMD's preview drivers with the 7900 XTX. And I'm pretty sure I have everything set at Ray Tracing Ultra. Yep. Where'd the car just go? It crashed. I'm supposed to steal it. I'm getting hurt. But yeah, we're down a little too low for this, so we got to go in. What's performance mode give us? 97 frames per second. So here we're at 90 to 100 FPS. 50. AMD recommends to have 60 base frame rate before you apply frame generation. So to lower that frame rate, we're going to crank this to medium. This is my recommended playing setting style. Fog, clouds, screen space, and ambient occlusion set to medium. We're going to turn this down to medium, and everything else should be good. Let's turn off everything but depth of field. Performance FSR. What do we get now? Alright, we're at 56, 50, 54 base frame rate and 111 regular. So I really feel that most people will be able to either play it right like this, or they might have to turn off reflections or shadows. A lot of people say if you want the best ray tracing, ignore the lighting, ignore the shadows, and just turn on reflections. And there we have 64 base frame rate. When frame generation is active for AMD, you want your frame rate to always be 120 or higher. So if you have your base frame rate with frame generation off, you want it to be at least 60. You know, 57 might be okay, 55. But you don't want 49 or 50. You want pretty much 60 FPS before you apply frame generation. So if you had to turn down settings or apply upscaling to get a consistent 60 plus frames per second or higher throughout the whole game, you know, set up your upscaling and settings to do that, then turn on frame generation. You should then have 120 FPS through the entire game if you set the correct settings. And it can dip a little bit, but it's best not to.
Hang on, gotta go.
But this is incredible. Instead of 60 FPS, having 120. Now VSync must be turned off in this preview driver. I don't know if it's going to be that way forever. They're still working on the technology for release next year. But I'm thankful I could try it now. I have been waiting and waiting since the day it was announced, and since the day its release date was announced just a month ago at Gamescom. I have been way excited. But even in some areas, 150 FPS, that's crazy. Now I forget if I can, I don't feel like taking the elevator. But this is cool. And if you said forget ray tracing, I hate ray tracing. Okay, then turn it off. Turn everything to high. Everything's pretty much on high. And put it to quality mode. Click apply. There you go. 177 frames per second. Base frame rate 85. 175 for the frame generated total frames. And let's go into the thicker part. Look at the CPU usage, 71%. Oh, that's the other thing I forgot. The crowd density is on high, okay. But this is pretty incredible. Frame generation does disable VSync though. Like I just turned VSync on right now, apply. And we're still getting, it says 160 FPS. But this is a work in progress. I think when FSR 3 is going to be implemented in here, oh my word, so many reviewers, benchmarkers, everybody is going to be raving about how good it is. AMD is going to get a lot of press because of this. I can already tell. But yeah, I mean, playing Cyberpunk at 177 FPS, native 4K. No, quality. You want native? Let's go native. Here we go, native 4K. All high settings. 120 FPS. 123. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with the VSync. But in Forspoken, it looked perfect. FSR 3 in Forspoken was absolutely crystal smooth perfect. The FSR 3 upscaling was better, everything. So I can kind of tell FSR 3 is kind of messed up there. And I'm only at 60 FPS. But this is the power of settings. Right now we're at 61 to 62. Base FPS. 130 overall total. So 165. You come in here, you lower 2 settings to medium. Screen space reflections, ambient occlusion. Boom. Now we went from 65 FPS up to 72. So that's a great improvement. You can take it further by turning down the fog and cloud quality to medium. What do we have now? 75 base frame rate. 150. And the only other thing you do is low and low. Whoops, did I hit the wrong thing there? No, I didn't. Okay. And now we're at 87 FPS. From just lowering that, ambient occlusion and screen space reflections. 175. So if you want frames, you can get them. That's what I like about this game. You lower literally 2 settings. And it's great. And people are like, well, Frosty, you lose your screen space reflections. Look at that. You see that? Watch, I'll put them to Psycho. From low to Psycho. Did it change much? No, it didn't. My frame rate dropped down to 45 base. 95 with frame gen. You know, maybe there are different areas. Like here. There's a good reflection. That's on Psycho. And then I put it down to low. Not much of a difference. And now instead of 90 total frames, I'm at 176. So what do you want? Do you want frames or something that says ultra on it or high? And it doesn't look any better. Hardware Unboxed did a good video on settings for these things. They're gonna have to redo everything. Everyone, oh my word, all the benchmarking places and videos are gonna have to do all the testing over again when FSR 3 is implemented into these games. But it's promised for Cyberpunk. And I think FSR 2 upscaling isn't really good. I can see like shimmering stuff. From what I've seen of Forspoken, FSR 3, oh, the upscaling is so much better. Like 10 times less shimmering. And artifacts. But this isn't bad. Playing Cyberpunk at 160 FPS. Plus, I'm using encoding software on my GPU in order to stream this. So, that kind of messes up the frame rate as well. Okay, my stream's still up and running good. You never know. Cable modem sometimes cuts out. Anybody in chat? If you want me to try any settings, just let me know. But yeah, in order to disable frame generation on this preview of the AMD preview driver, you just have to turn on HDR. There you go. Turn it on. Frame generation is now off. Now we're getting 80 FPS. So this is 80 FPS with VSync off. So if you see any stuttering, that's because of VSync is turned off. But yeah, I'm very sensitive to VSync and shimmering, stuttering, stuff like that. But yeah, this is frame generation off. A mixture of my high settings. Normally I keep everything medium. Normally I do 4 mediums. Ambient, screen space, volumetric, cloud, and fog. And then everything else I'll do high. Ray tracing is off. FSR is off. So it's not upscaled. This is native 4K. So native 4K at 7980 frames per second right now. That's not bad. AMD did really good with the 7900 XTX. You know, it might dip here and there and stuff, but in the 70s to 80s. Plus streaming takes up at least 10 FPS. Regardless, if I go and turn off HDR, boom, frame generation is now active. Now we're getting 154 FPS instead of 77. So I want to kind of walk over here where I was just walking. It looks a lot smoother. It does. It does look good. The fact that you can now use FSR with frame generation with your 144 Hz monitor instead of getting like 60 or 80, you know, to double that. That's impressive to me. Let's go for a rip in the Caliburn, and then I gotta go for Rat now. But it does feel more realistic. And I don't notice a lot of artifacts. The only thing I do have a problem with is the HDR must be turned off in order for it to activate. And you have to disable VSync, or the driver itself disables VSync. So hopefully they can get it to work without disabling VSync, because it'll make it so much more smooth. But regardless, Cyberpunk will get FSR 3 full implementation, so very, very good. It won't have stutters, it'll work with VSync turned on. Let's ride back to the apartment and call it a night. But yeah, we're booking it at 150 FPS almost. It does feel smooth. The only thing is the VSync. So, FSR 3 is going to change Cyberpunk for every single AMD user, for sure. No ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, if I don't turn, this feels like I'm running at 144 FPS. It feels smooth. It definitely does what it says, fluid motion frames. When I turn, that's where VSync issues start to have problems. I'm a race car driver, let's go. Catch. Thank you. Stop it. Sir, stop resisting. Stop resisting. I said stop resisting. Just pretty much. But it does feel good. And once you get immersed, instead of looking at the details, you know, you really just focus on the whole screen, and I'm getting used to it, kind of. Let me set this back to default. Yeah, that's a little better. But yeah, FSR 3 upscaling looks gorgeous in Forspoken. Frame generation looks to be working pretty much flawlessly. So I'm excited what it's going to do to Cyberpunk. Alrighty, God bless, have a good night. Talk to you everybody later. Tell everybody about FSR 3. So if you have an AMD GPU, you can download the preview driver from AMD. I guess I could put a link in my video description. But just look up AMD Fluid Motion Preview Driver and you should get the information you need to download it. Make sure you read the article because it says to download it, click this link, and I kind of missed it. But if you want to try frame generation, just go download the driver, open your settings to gaming, and then turn on fluid motion frames, then launch the game. So I can do a tutorial on it probably, but got a bit of a headache, a little bit sick here doing some things, so I gotta go get some things taken care of. But if you want to try FSR 3, it is in the Forspoken demo right now. And if you want to try Cyberpunk with FSR 3, download the preview driver, install that, and then turn on AMD Fluid Motion Frames under the global profile or Cyberpunk. And that's how I'm getting 140 FPS right now in Cyberpunk instead of 70. But official FSR 3 will be released in a little while here. But I gotta go for now. But if you want to do the beta, try it. You know, you could download the AMD preview driver with AMD fluid motion frames. It is awesome. It's just beta, but in my opinion, it's best to wait for FSR 3 true implementation. But everyone is really excited over this. I am wholeheartedly excited about FSR 3. In Forspoken, I think it looks absolutely perfect, and it's everything I wanted it to be. And I've been waiting months and months. I've been checking the news daily. FSR 3 on YouTube, on web search, and it's finally here. And then I got surprised that not only did Forspoken and Immortals of Avium have it come out, and everybody's reviewing it, they also have a preview driver where you can play any DirectX 11 or 12 game with frame generation on right now with the preview driver. The only caveat is you cannot enable VSync. So anyone sensitive to VSync being turned off, you know, that might bother them a little bit. It does for me. Eventually you get used to it, but I prefer it on. But the official FSR 3 Cyberpunk implementation will be coming soon. There's no release date that I know of yet, but it is going to be epic. Every single person with the 3070 Ti and, you know, with the 2080, you know, will be able to try this technology without AMD's, without NVIDIA's 4000 series card. So I'm excited. AMD's doing a really good job for gamers, and I'm thankful I got a 7900 XTX. Because I knew this was coming, I heard about it, I put my hope in it, I was like, yes, this is gonna come, and it's definitely good. And FSR 3 upscaling so much better than number 2 in Forspoken. So I'm really hoping that Forspoken FSR 3, the way it was implemented, if it is implemented the same way as Cyberpunk, as Forspoken, oh my word. This is going to be incredible, guys. It's going to change the whole gaming industry. People aren't going to be like, oh, well, I have NVIDIA with frame gen, you know. Yeah, well, I'm AMD. I have fluid motion frame gen too. You know, it's going to change a lot. So get ready for all the benchmarks, reviews, videos from possibly me and all the other channels out there. Wow. And just testing this, I could only get with Ultra on performance. Well, let's just do Ultra and apply. I think it's in performance mode. But instead of getting 44 FPS, I get 88. With ray tracing on 88. So, we're gonna see here how it looks. We're at 45 and we're getting 90. But AMD recommends getting a base of 60 FPS before turning on frame generation. So I would think let's go to ray tracing medium with performance. So this is ray tracing medium and we're getting 53 FPS. And if you take it further, you can go to medium, clouds and fog, low screen space reflections, low ambient occlusion. There you go. 62 FPS, 125, 124. So yeah, I think the FSR 3 implementation will be even better, and I would have higher FPS if I wasn't streaming this to YouTube through my graphics card. So I'm gonna stop the stream now. I gotta go, take care of some things, get rid of this headache, take some activated charcoal. But yeah, this is gonna be incredible. It's gonna change the whole gaming industry. Fluid motion frames, FSR 3, frame generation. Very exciting. 120 FPS instead of 60. Yep, let's go. Good job, AMD. I'm gonna go take care of things and end the stream and take note of how much FPS I gain after I end the stream. So we're at 123 now.